Behind the facade of this old industrial building, internationally acclaimed architect David Ling has managed to create the perfect live workspace. Or has he?
I don't think there's such a thing as a universal, perfect living space, but I do think that it's possible to create the best fit. I had to step back and be quiet for a moment and really figure out what I really wanted, as opposed to what you see in a magazine or the latest trend or what other peers are doing. The I Ching said that this would be an auspicious, life-changing, challenging move for me in my life, and that I would be assuming new responsibilities, but that the potential would be great. And I think that helped me decide on buying this place. The building essentially is a loft in a brownstone. What that means is it originally started as an industrial space in a residential neighborhood. It was a dental factory back in the late 1800s. What attracted me to the building was the proportion of the space, the fact that it was a fully built lot, which is very rare in New York. So the loft is actually 100 feet by 22 feet wide. With that luxury of space, with the luxury of the fact that I was my own client and that I had time to work with, not necessarily money, but I had time, I was able to use water in a very luxurious way. The water essentially is used here not only for flow, but it also is an element that joins and separates the three main spaces. There are essentially two pools, a lower pool and an upper pool. The lower pool is transversed by a quasi medieval drawbridge, essentially, that's made out of 8x8 posts that were left over from construction. They were just shoring posts, and instead of throwing them out, I used them for the drawbridge as well as the tatami platforms and the sort of I Ching steps that you'll see at the base of the steel stair. And that's the method of going across the upper pool from the living area to the sleeping area. As you enter the front door, the first half is my office, my architectural practice, which is essentially sandblasted glass tables resting on the shoring posts left over from construction, and my library behind rear-lit plastic shades. We used a variety of materials and concepts in renovating the space. In the living area, essentially the floor is a metallic floor, similar to the office, surrounded by water. It's essentially a metallic lily pad. The kitchen counter is a cement, hand-finished, hand-burnished cement counter in tinted cement. The seating is essentially a mixture of Eastern and Western methods. Essentially, there are a series of tatami mat pads resting on the shoring posts, as well as Tobia Scarpa sofas and armchairs, as well as a pair of orange chairs that I designed for a variety of projects while we were working in Germany. The ceiling is essentially a thin layer of standard sheetrock, but we cut the openings for the skylight on a bevel. So it's sort of inspired by the American artist James Turrell in making the ceiling plane as thin, almost paper thin. Another aspect of the Chinese philosophical background that we incorporate in our work is the juxtaposition of opposites, the yin-yang concept. We like to juxtapose a clear, rusticated space, in this case, leaving the brick walls intact and just painted, whitewashed, with the new, One of those new, more surreal objects, which contrasts with the rectilinear space, is the metallic two-story conical shape. The lower part is essentially a throne lined with silver fox, more tongue-in-cheek, and then the upper part is actually an open shower. One of the dominant elements in the space is the waterfall. It essentially emanates from the back of the bed, which is cantilevered over the two-story space, falls into the upper pool, which is lined with Mexican river-washed stone, and then travels along two channels on the side of the living space, which basically surround the metallic lily pad aspect of the living space, and then falls into the lower moat, and then gets recirculated. The lighting is a combination of natural and artificial. Through the skylights, of course, we get the vertical light coming down and reflecting off the metallic floors. We also get light bouncing off the ripples in the water and causing a really beautiful refraction against the blue walls. And also we have artificial light, which comes in a variety of flavors. Essentially, there's backlit scrims, which form the enclosure for the closets. We have underlit floors at the perimeter, and then we have these sort of droplets of light over the moat. I'm very happy that I chose to buy this place and renovate it. I remember the first about a week that I moved in here, I actually never left the place. I've surrounded myself with the things that I really enjoy seeing, and that includes the space. The space is really a living sculpture.